Hello, everybody. Hello, would you please take your seats so we can get started? We have a very fun-filled event this afternoon, so please take your seats. Geez, I wish my kids would have listened like that, but that's great. Well, I'm Peter Schmidt. I am the chair of the Campaign for Legal Aid. I'm a partner at Robbins Kaplan, and I've been involved in SMRLS for a few decades. It's one of the biggest joys in my professional life is to help people serve the mission of SMRLS. This is a cherished tradition at SMRLS. I don't know how many years we've been doing this luncheon, and we are going to start by having Brett Olander come up, who is chair of SMRLS Board of Directors and a longtime contributor to this great organization. Brett?
Good afternoon, everybody. So I like to start, as most people know, with a quote from the real Bobby Kennedy. And it really is very appropriate to this audience and our organization as a whole. Courage is the most important attribute of a lawyer. It's more important than competence or vision. It can never be an elective in any law school. It can never be delimited, dated, or outworn. And it should pervade the heart, the halls of justice, and the chambers of the mind. All right. Whenever I read one of Bobby Kennedy's quotes, I always get a little teary-eyed. So here we go. 2025 has been a year of significant change for SMRLS. First and foremost, and notably, the retirement of Jessie Nicholson, who unfortunately, as far as I can tell, is not here today because she had a prior commitment. But Jessie hates the limelight, so I'm sure she probably planned this so that we'd give her all kinds of accolades and would not be here to receive them. But in any event, Jessie's commitment to equal justice and access to justice cannot be overstated. We're honored that she has dedicated her professional life in service to SMRLS. I literally knew Jessie in law school. We went to law school together, and she has been involved in equal access to justice and legal services to the poor her entire professional career. So, even in her absence, please join me in wishing her a well-earned and wonderful retirement. So, now I'm delighted to introduce you to our new CEO, Michaela Schuneman, who, from all I can tell so far, and we've spent more time together in the last few months than she probably likes, she actually, she has courage. So I think she'll do a wonderful job in this role. Michaela?
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Michaela Schuneman, and I am the new CEO of SMRLS. And I just want to say it's wonderful to have an event like this where the sole purpose is to appreciate each other and all of the great supporters of SMRLS. So thank you all for being here, and it's great to meet you. I had a chance to speak with many people outside, so it's an honor for me to take the reins of SMRLS from Jessie Nicholson. Jessie has been an incredible mentor and has been working with me through the transition period. And, Jessie was with SMRLS through many transitions. And so as we move into the next phase of SMRLS, I am happy to know that I have her support and the support of everyone here. My first day was October 13th, So I'm still pretty new to the organization, but I've had a great welcome from staff, from the board, from everyone else. So thank you all for that as well. And in the coming year, we expect that our clients are going to be facing many challenges. There's going to be transitions in many of the programs people rely on, and we know that they're facing those challenges with SMRLS, with the support of the team and our presence across southern Minnesota. And I've had a chance to meet our Mankato team and working to be able to meet the other teams, many of whom are here today from Rochester and from our other offices. I don't know if Worthington's here today, but they're going to be able to rely on us, and they'll be able to rely on us because of the support of everyone here. So thank you for being here, and I'm going to now take a moment to thank our staff and recognize some of the people who are here today. So if you work at SMRLS, get ready, because we're going to ask you to stand up. First of all, we're going to ask the people who have been working at SMRLS for over 30 years to please stand up. Yes, please. Yeah, and please stay standing. Sorry, Laura. Please stay standing, because your decades of service are a testament to your commitment to justice, and it's an amazing thing. So thank you very much. So if you have been working at SMRLS for 20 years or more, please also stand. So everyone who's been working 20 or more years, thank you. Now, please stay standing, and if you've been with SMRLS for 10 years or longer, please stand. Please. All right, thank you. And then everyone else who works at SMRLS, if you've been working at SMRLS for less than 10 years, please join your colleagues. Please stand and join. Thank you all so much for your commitment to our community and the time you have spent working at this organization. We all learn from each other every day. And then I would next like to recognize all of our volunteers. So if you have taken a pro bono case, been on our board over the past year, please stand as well. We'd like to recognize you, and thank you. If clients are the reason that SMRLS exists, then all of you who stood up today are the reason that we continue to flourish, so thank you very much. I'm now going to invite Brett to join me here to induct our 2025 class of Justice Matters Alliance honorees. So Brett, thank you.
The Justice Matters Alliance recognizes the outstanding contributions of civil legal aid allies for all they do to further the work of SMRLS in serving the people of southern Minnesota. This year we have the honor of inducting 6 new inductees, and we're going to ask each of you to come forward and stay up here until we complete it for those in attendance, and then we'll probably take a picture. Perfect. So, I was going to make a comment about my photogenic nature, but I'm going to skip that for now. All right. First up is the one and only, where is he? Bruce Benecke. Come on up, Bruce. I'll read these nice things about you while you're standing next to me. The Justice Matters Alliance recognizes the outstanding contributions of civil legal aid allies for all they do to further the work of SMRLS in serving people of southern Minnesota. Bruce's decades of leadership forever changed the landscape of legal aid in Minnesota by spearheading efforts to achieve bipartisan support in the legislature for funding of civil legal aid, and, not on the script here, off script of course, Bruce coached youth football for years in St. Paul, and only once did one of the teams that I was affiliated with ever beat his teams. And that's when we patented that read option before everybody did it, and the guys from your squad was Jimmy Lee, right?
Right,
Ah,
Central.
and Central High School. So, heck of a football coach. And I just found out earlier today a pickup basketball aficionado as well. So, congratulations, Bruce.
Thanks, Brett.
Yeah. Stay up here till we finish. Next up is Drew Glasanovich. Is Drew here? There he is. Drew has been a driving force behind a complex and impactful case that began with 11 individual tenants, all previously represented by SMRLS, and evolved into a class action that resulted in substantial settlement benefiting thousands of Minnesota renters. Drew's commitment to serving SMRLS' client community will have a lasting impact. Congratulations, Drew. Next, Laura Melnick. A popular recipient among our listening audience. Good. Nominated by her peers, Laura has garnered great respect and admiration for her dedication to serving clients and mentoring staff. In her 37 years at SMRLS, Laura has changed countless lives in pursuit of justice for all. Congratulations, Laura. And then we have three folks who aren't here, so we'll read through those and give them their due recognition as well. Jeannie Williams. Jeannie joined SMRLS in 1991 as a paralegal. Jeannie, you're not here, are you? All right. Didn't want to make sure she wasn't shy. As a paralegal, making a mark for herself as an intake specialist with a knack for helping the most challenging callers. Jeannie was fiercely protective of our clients. She knew they were coming from a hard and vulnerable place, and she could create empathy for people who had never had any. Congratulations, Jeannie. Steve Kirsch, who most of you know is unable to be with us today. As a member of the Campaign for Legal Aid, since 1991, Steve has rallied support from the legal community for SMRLS, encouraging financial and pro bono support, never wavering in his commitment to justice for all. Congratulations, Steve Kirsch. And finally, Jesse Nicholson. Jesse's pioneering leadership in the field of civil legal aid has impacted tens of thousands of lives throughout Minnesota and the nation. This certificate is issued on the occasion of Jesse's retirement after 40 years of service to SMRLS. Thank you, Jesse, and congratulations. Did you get a picture of these folks? Perfecto. Thank you.
Thank you so much to everyone, all the honorees. So I would like to introduce some representatives from the Ramsey Bar Foundation who are here today. I think, right? The Ramsey Bar.
We didn't know. So if you're with Ramsey Bar, please join us on the stage.
Ramsey Bar Foundation. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, Michaela. Hi, everyone. My name is Maya Misagi. I'm the current Ramsey County Bar Association president. Normally, the president of the Ramsey County Bar Foundation would be doing this fun activity, but she is otherwise detained and sends her regards. That's Judge Palmer Dennick. So I get to do this, which is fun, with Karen. Yay. The Bench and Bar Benefit, Ramsey County, was held earlier this month and raised more than $50,000, which is fantastic, so thank you. And as is tradition, half of the proceeds are being awarded to SMRLS today. The other half will be distributed to other law-related charitable organizations in the spring. Thank you to the Bench and Bar Benefit Committee for all of their work in making the event a success. And the RCBF and RCBA really value our relationship with SMRLS and all of the wonderful work that you do. So we're very happy and honored to give you this check, and we know you'll know just what to do with it. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Cool. This is my first giant check, so I like it. Thank you. All right, I would now like to introduce or ask for Peter to come back to introduce our speaker today. So thank you very much, Peter.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to welcome our keynote, Luis. Luis Moreno is an adjunct professor of leadership and management in undergraduate and executive education. He specializes in human-centered leadership and emotional intelligence, and he conducts leadership development trainings for leaders from the United States and other countries. Luis has an MBA from the Carlson School of Management. He's a public policy fellow from the Humphrey School of Public Affairs. He received a Distinguished Service Award from the state of Minnesota, and he's a member of the Young American Leaders Program at Harvard Business School. Let's give a warm welcome to Luis Moreno.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity to be here with you today. I want to start just by thanking SMRLS for the opportunity to join you and to sit here at lunch and see the wonderful work that you're doing. So congratulations to everyone that has been recognized so far today. So I have been dedicating a lot of time, over a decade of my life, in studying and learning about human-centered leadership, emotional intelligence, empathy, compassion. And I could talk to you for hours about it, but we don't have that time. We only have about 45 minutes. So in that time, I would like to share with you a little bit about my story, my life journey, how I got to the work that I am doing, and then I love to share with you just a few tips on how to leverage emotional intelligence, how to leverage empathy, compassion, in these times, in troubling times like the ones, we're going through uncertainty and difficult times in the US and around the world. How can we leverage these new skills, right? So, as I was said in the introduction, my name is Luis Moreno. I was born and raised in Venezuela, And I came to the U.S. With an invitation from the University of Minnesota back in the late 90s to study at the Carlson School. So I did my MBA at the Carlson School. The plan was for me to return, but given that the Twin Cities is a great place for business and there are many headquarters for Fortune 500 companies here, I had multiple employment offers to stay here and work here in the U.S. So I got multiple job offers from Fortune 500 companies, started working. So after a number of years, I got to work for 7 Fortune 500 companies, which is a great accomplishment for someone. I was just coming from a small city in the Northeast in Venezuela by the coast, right, with fishermen. And so being here and being in some of the largest global corporations, right, in GE and others, I felt proud about that. And when I was looking at the people that I was working with at all of these great companies, I saw a lot of great leadership. But I also saw leadership that was not so great. And I was, back in my 20s, younger than I am right now, I was observing, and I noticed something very interesting, that there were kind of 2 groups of leaders in my young age there, in my 20s, kind of looking at understanding about all this corporate world. And I saw leaders that were very liked at the top, right, by their leadership, shareholders, and they were also liked by the people at the bottom, the people that reported to them, right? But there was something that was very fascinating to me was that there was also a different kind of leader that was very liked at the top, but they were not liked at the bottom. The people that were working for them were not happy to work for them. And in fact, when these leaders were moving from one department to another, from one division to another, you could see kind of the migration of talent, that when someone would go to one division, then kind of the people in that division were kind of looking for jobs to move and go somewhere else. Now, the people in the first group, the great leaders in my mind, they also caused migration, but in the other way. So when they were moving and going in different businesses and divisions, people were wanting to go and work in those businesses because they appreciated what it felt, the culture that those leaders brought. So again, back in my 20s, I was like, wow, this is fascinating. Why is this happening? And I started to look into the qualities and characteristics of those leaders, and I found something very interesting, that in the second group that were people, these leaders were not very liked at the bottom, they actually were still able to continue to move up through the organization and be promoted and have bigger groups, and got all the way to the top of this organization. So I was confused, heartbroken sometimes, because in my young age, in my 20s, I was like, how come can somebody that in some cases were really not good people, people that were not just, they were patronizing, condescending, offensive sometimes, inappropriate, but they could continue to move up through the organization. So that was like a puzzle for me. And I started to think about, okay, what's going on here? And I started to talk to mentors and, kind of older or, folks with more experience, and they explained to me that it was all about financial results. It was all about revenues, earnings, profit, ROI. So as long as you could increase the earnings, it didn't really matter what kind of people you were and all that. Imagine for me at that age to listen to that, I was like really confused and shocked. I was like, really, is that the case? So as long as you can grow businesses and bring in the revenue and the profit and everything, you can just be anyone and kind of act however you want. And so it motivated me to start thinking about leadership. What were the qualities of leadership? Is it really all about revenues and results and profits and ROI, or is there something more? In my head and in my mind and in my heart, there had to be something more. And that's when I started studying human-centered leadership. That is the kind of leadership that puts people first. It's like, yes, revenue is important, obviously. It's a business, right? We gotta grow businesses and we gotta run organizations, but people needs to be at the center, right? So it's about, what are the values, right? Ethics, all of these pieces. And it also connected me to study emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence provided some elements that were important in studying leadership. For example, one of the observations that I had is that many of these leaders in the first group, kind of like the bad group, or the second group actually, had low self-awareness. And what I mean by that is that if you ask them, hey, how are things going in the organization? Oh, things are going great, it's all, we're having a great year, we have 20% growth, it's all fantastic, we're killing it. But if you did a survey of the people, if you did like a pulse check and you asked, you had one of those for job satisfaction surveys, people were not very happy. Many of the people were like looking for jobs either in other departments or somewhere else. Turnover was high. So there was a disconnect between what the leaders thought on how things were going and what the people thought of how things were going, right? So why that disconnect happens? That happens because it's a lack of self-awareness. It's not understanding who you are, what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, how are you making people feel, what is the vibe that you give to others. When you enter, when you come to the office, when you in this hybrid environment where you're working sometimes from home and sometimes you're working at the office, when you show up at the office, how do people feel that you are in the office? Are people happy? Are people worried? Are people stressed? Or how do you make people feel with your presence? And in fact, I will go farther than that. When you send an email, what does your name cost to the people that receive your email? So somebody's sitting in front of their computer and they're looking at their inbox, right? And when they look at their inbox, there appears one email that comes from you. They haven't even opened the email yet. They only saw that there is an email that came from you. How do they feel? What does the fact that you have sent somebody an email make them feel? Well, depending on what kind of leader you are, you can already activate feelings in people just by sending them an email that they haven't even read yet. For example, they could say, oh my gosh, I just got this email from, Frank, I have to go get some coffee before I even open that email. Why? Because every time you send an email, your email is charged. The language that you're using, you're accusing, you're blaming others, you're stressing people out, you're giving, deadlines that are not real, that are not feasible, right? That's your style of communication. Whereas it could be that somebody is having a tough day, it's like a stressful day. I have to do all this. We're having problems with a client, and all of a sudden, that person receives an email from you, and when they see your name before they read the email, they feel better. They're like, wow, I just got an email from Jessica. Good. Why? Because Jessica she's always there to support you. She's always there to have a kind comment, a supportive comment, to say, we're going to go through this. Jessica is resilient. Jessica has empathy and compassion, which is what I want to talk to you more about today. So I started to get excited about this emotional intelligence and human-centered leadership thing, and it's like I wanted to talk to people about it. And I was, as I started to talk to people, like emotional intelligence, human-centered leadership, people were like, Luis, we're busy. We are focused on financial results. We're focused on business results, financial results. We don't have time for that. And what I noticed was that when people heard emotional intelligence, human-centered leadership, and all that, in their heads, they were thinking of something very like esoteric. And they were telling me, Luis, that's like too fluffy. That's like, in their mind, it felt like something like yoga, like meditation, or something like that. And I said, and it's like, no, Luis, you got to work on things that are about making money. How do we make more money? And in fact, I started to offer people trainings on emotional intelligence for free. Over a decade ago, when I started doing this, I would, beg people to let me train their people, and I would offer it for free, and people would still say no. It's like, no, we are busy. We're very focused on business results and all that. So I'm like, wow, what do I do? So, I started to continue with my studies. I was, reading books, talking to experts around the world. I got a couple of certifications, with Daniel Goleman, one of the pioneers of emotional intelligence in the world. And I just said, because people were like, oh, Luis, like, give that up, give that up. Just like focus on things that really work. In fact, I either have people tell me, okay, so I would say, can you let me give you a sample, like a preview of the training so that you see it and then I can train your teams? Okay, let's have a preview. We go through the training and they'll say, okay, I have to give you some feedback. Okay, yeah, what is it? Can you change the training to make it more about how do we make more money? And it's okay, but this training is really not about making more money. It's about this is about like the right thing to do. This is about what is ethics. This is about how do we engage people in doing the right thing. And in fact, this training in some instances will lead you to make a decision that may lead to making less money, because it may be that the right decision to do leads to less money right now, but has a better result later, because it's going to prevent you from making quick money right now that will lead to, we've all seen it in the media, right, with all of these scandals, big national banks having to pay big fines because they're so focused on making money that some of these other things are missed, right? Sometimes I had executives that would tell me, okay, Luis, can you give me they said like, oh, right now there's like this thing about compassion and empathy are like growing, it's like a trend. Can you give me a training to help me make people think that I am empathetic? And I said, well, I cannot train you how to make people think that you are empathetic, but I can train you on how to be more empathetic, right? And today, I can actually share with you some tips on how to be more empathetic. But I want to share a story with you. When I was, in a really big and important company, one day, a team, I was leading a team. My team contacted me and told me, hey, Luis, we actually have a situation here. We've been reporting this, statistic here to the public, and we've noticed that it's actually not accurate. So it needs to be fixed, right? And we want you to lead this team to go ahead and fix this number. So, okay, we work on this thing for months, and it's a very, complex project to be able to fix all that and stuff, and great. One day, I get a call that says, hey, the leadership has learned that you guys have changed this number, and they're not happy about it because it's a lower number now, and we're not looking as good. So we are in trouble. So we have to go to. So I'm invited to this meeting, and when I get there, we have all of these executives. Everybody's higher than me, and they start asking. The leader says, goes one by one and asks, hey, did you know about this project? People are like, no, I wasn't aware. I didn't know. How about you? Did you know? No, it's like nobody knew anything about the project. Nobody had anything to do with it. Everybody disconnected from it. And they were going literally like executive by executive. And then he got to me. When he got to me, I had to answer the question whether I knew anything about the project or anything. Well, I thought to myself, okay, let's think about this one. I had to think about this in microseconds, right? So one is that if I say no, it wouldn't make any sense because my name is all over the place in all the systems and everything as the lead. It's all documented. I've been the one leading this thing for months. It wouldn't make any sense. And I mean, actually, they already know that. They're kind of like, they're asking me. It's like, when your significant other asks you a question, hey, it's like they already have all the information. They're just checking with you to see kind of what you say. So, and I say, okay, it doesn't make any sense for me to say no. And then, but the other part of me said, not only that it doesn't make any sense for me to say no because they have all the documentation, I don't want to say no because I would feel terrible to say no because it would go against me, against my values, against who I was raised to be, against what my parents taught me, my grandparents, my people that I care about. They told me that it was important to have integrity, to have values, to be real, to be honest, to be right. And I thought to myself, if I say no, I won't be able to sleep tonight. I feel terrible myself, and I'm not going to convince anybody anyway, right? So I went ahead and said, yes, I knew about the project. I did it. I led the project. Hey, this was a group of very talented people that worked really hard. We worked with the information we had at the time, with the analysis that we did. We believed that that was the right thing to do, to keep the integrity and all in the company. Okay, thank you very much. Meeting is dismissed. I go back to my desk, and I'm thinking, well, this is it. I'm going to lose my job. But hey, it is what it is. It's okay. I am leaving my job. If I said no, maybe I would have lost it anyway. But I said yes. I'm going to be losing my job, but I'm going to leave with my head up. I'm going to be feeling great about myself. This is something that I can tell my parents. If I'm ever going to write a book, I'll put that in there. But and then I get a call, and it's my boss says, "Please come to my office." And I'm like, well, this is it. But hey. I go, and my boss was a great guy. He was kind of a character, a very eccentric guy that was great with me, very supportive. He says, "Hey, sit down here in front of me." And then he stays, and he's looking at me, right? He says, "You're a brave guy, huh?" And I say, "Well, yeah, what could I do? I had no choice, right?" He says, "Well, I have to tell you that the general manager just called me and said that he was very proud of you. He was very proud of you for what you did, and I want to congratulate you for standing up and for telling the truth." And that was a big moment for me. This was many, many, many years ago. It was a big moment for me because I felt, this is a manifestation of what is to come in the future of leadership that cannot all be about like ROI and making money and profit, but it also has to include and combine these values of ethics, of integrity, and then having empathy and compassion. It's like, yes, I did it. Okay, good. Let's work with you. And when somebody makes a mistake, I had a friend of mine was working in finance, and he had kind of a same idea. He made a mistake and discovered it very little time before the results, the business results of the company were going to be announced. And he went to the CEO and said, "I messed up. I made a mistake." And they were like, panicking, had to get all the team working really hard to fix all the numbers and everything. Just a whole chaos, right? A disaster. But they fixed the numbers and they shared the right numbers. And then, similar to my story, the CEO went and said, "Thank you, congratulations. I wish that more employees were like you and told the truth, because otherwise, they would have published something that was inaccurate, that at some point it was going to come up," right? So these are the things that we're looking for. And then so I had so much passion for that I started to go to visit schools. I started through academia one day. So actually I started by writing articles. So I said okay, people don't want me to go train their folks. They don't want to hear me. They don't want this yoga thing about emotional intelligence. I'm going to start writing articles. So I started to write articles and put them out there, publish it. Some organizations and publications were publishing my articles. And one day I got I think it was like an email many years ago, and it was from a professor from Hamline University, and said, "Hey, Luis, we've got one of your articles, and the class, everybody is reading here your articles. We're debating it. We have an interesting conversation. We want to talk to you. Would you come to class to talk to us about your article?" And I went, and from there, I was just started visiting universities, here in other states, in other countries, through, with the pandemic and all that, visiting remotely multiple universities in multiple countries, because academia and education around the world is working and struggling with this thing about how do we train new leaders that think differently, right? That think more holistically. So when the pandemic hits, right, around 2020, now people are home spending more time with themselves, with their families, and there is a shift in people's minds, and they're thinking, okay, the pandemic with millions of people, or many people dying around the world, that is a reminder that first, life is short, right? We can go at any time, so we have to enjoy our life. Second is that we need to be happy, because if life is short, then why stressed and why have a miserable life? And so it made people reflect about what kind of organization am I working with, right? What is the purpose of this organization? What is the contribution that this organization has to the world? If I'm working for a manufacturer, what are the things that they're making? Where are they making them? What materials are they using? What ingredients? Are they responsible with the planet? Are their practices sustainable? Are they respectful to the planet, to the world, to people? Are they respectful to us employees? What kind of leaders am I working for? How do my leaders make me feel? Do I feel that my leaders are looking up for me? Do I feel that I have the same opportunities? If I am a woman, do I feel that I have the same opportunities as men? If I am a person of color, of a different community, if I am an immigrant, do I feel that if I work hard, in this organization, do I have the same opportunity? So people are going through all these questions, right? It's like, okay, what kind of leader am I working for? And then, so now more and more organizations are learning the hard way, right? Because I was there knocking on the door, calling, sending emails, they're like, I want to talk to you, I want to train your managers and your leaders and emotional intelligence. It's like, no, we're too busy, we got to make, because 20 years ago when I started in corporate America, on Monday morning, the rally, how people motivated you was, hey, here is, 20%, we're going to hit 20% growth. We're going to go for 10% earning. And people were like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go work for it. Well, guess what? With the generational changes, in my work, I focus on generational changes, technological and cultural changes. There is a big generational shift in how the new generation thinks about work and about life. Right now, if you take a bunch of employees that are in their 20s and you tell them, hey, motivation, we're going to grow by 10% earnings, they're like, is that what we are going to? Thank you, but it just doesn't motivate them. They're motivated by different things. That's why now companies have to think about purpose, about what is the vision, how do this company makes you better as a person, how are we making the world a better place. So with that, after that conversation at Hamlin, I started to get invited to all these various universities. Well, today I am teaching, so I've taught at the Carlson School in problem solving. I'm teaching in executive education. I teach in the Humphrey School, Public Policy Fellowship, in the International Fellowship. I'm teaching in the leadership minor, where we literally teach leadership to 18, 19, 20-year freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. We're teaching them leadership. Why? Because to have a better world, to have a world that is sustainable, to have organizations, to have people that are happy, people that want to work in companies, they need to feel good with the people that they're working with, at the value. See, for example, one of the shifts that we see is like in the past, 20 years ago, if you were training to be a leader in corporate, you had a mentor, you say, okay, how can I be a great leader? Well, here is a great advice for you. Whenever there is a problem out there, if there is something happening out in the media, something's going on in Minneapolis or whatever, here is my advice to you. Stay out of that, step back, kind of like, let the storm develop and pass, and then after the storm passes, then you come out. And if you do that, you will be a great leader and you will be there for a long time. So that's what people were doing. They were staying neutral. It's like, nope, I don't know about that. I don't have comments about that and all that. Well, one of the generational changes that has happened is that the employees now no longer want leaders that are in the closet about what they think, about what they feel, what are their political inclinations. So now, for example, I'm an immigrant. Okay, if I'm going to work at a company, it is no longer possible for leaders to be secret about what they think about immigration. Now you need to disclose. You say, people want to know, okay, I'm an immigrant. For me, because employees are looking for psychological safety. So if I want to feel safe, I want to know if I am do people have my back here? Are people looking out for me? So I need to know what is the stand that my leadership has about immigration. Do they support immigrants or not? How do they feel? When there is something about immigration, does my organization have a public statement out there? Do they say something in the media or not or whatever? If I am gay, if I am part of the LGBTQ community, I need to know, what do my leadership thinks about my community? Do they support it or not? Are they for? Are they against? Or what's going on? I need to know now. So there is a new training that we have to do to leaders to train them on how to speak about these things, how to disclose, how to talk about it. And not only that, but I grew up in corporate America in a time where the people connected through success. So when people talk, their stories were success story, how they were amazing, how, wow, I went to this great school, and it's like I am the best. That's how, wow, you're fantastic. Everybody loved those leaders. But now, in the generational shift that we're seeing, the new generation, they're thinking, okay, with social media and the internet and everything, with information being so transparent and TikTok and people speaking openly, now we know that nobody's perfect. People make mistakes. Even those who have made it to the top have made mistakes. So it's not real that that leader is perfect. So if a leader is telling me that they are perfect, that they are amazing, and they're not sharing with me any vulnerability, they're not sharing me a failure that they had or something that they're worried about, then it means that they are not opening up to me. They don't want to connect with me, right? They want to stay, they want a distance between me and them, right? So one of the ways that we are training new leaders at the University of Minnesota and universities around the world, there is one assignment that is called the failure resume. And that is a resume that is the opposite of when you guys write a resume, you write about how incredible you are. I'm amazing. I'm just like, wow, God, then me, then it's like, wow, I'm fantastic. But the failure resume teaches you a new skill, which is what if you came into peace, you make peace with the failures that you've had in your life. So the students, freshman, somebody that is 18, 19 years old, they need to think about what is a failure that they had in their academic life. They failed a class, they had to, they got their first C or D or F or whatever. A failure that they had in their professional life, you started, you got a job or something, you were volunteering, what happened, and then a personal failure. I have problems with my parents, I lost a friendship, but something happened in my life. And they need to reflect on that failure. What was the failure? What happened? And it's not about thinking, okay, that is all, in this failure, that was because they, for example, like it could be a professional failure is I really wanted one job and I applied for it and then, I didn't get it and that's a professional failure. So when you don't have self-awareness and you're in your early stages of developing your emotional intelligence, you will write something like, well, I didn't get the job, but that's because they didn't see, the value in me, like, they're lost and, I am so amazing. But that's not what we're looking for. What we're looking for is to create accountability, is to create, can you learn to own up to your own failures, to say, hey, you know what, I had this class. I was coming in high school. I was a straight A student. When I went into college, I realized that there was a higher standard. I didn't study enough, and kind of like I was willfully blind in that I knew that I needed to study more. I didn't do it, but it's all about creating this sense of, one is sense of self-awareness. What part did I have in this failure? Then sense of responsibility, right? It's like I had something with this. I am responsible to. Right? And then this thing about developing the muscle and the skill to talk about your failures. Because, so say, for example, executive search, they're looking for the head of a very important organization in Minnesota. The person looks great, man or woman. They check all the boxes. Everything's looking fantastic. They have a panel. And everybody's excited because this person has a very good chance to get the role. And then, the interview is flowing, everything is going great and stuff. And then they say, hey, can you tell us a little bit about a failure that you have had? And the candidate goes like, wow. I mean, the interview up to that point was like flowing, everything was going great, everybody was excited and stuff. And then when they throw that question, the whole thing stops. And the person is like, oh my gosh, I have to think a little bit about it because that's a tough question. Like I never really thought about it. I don't know. I can't really think about a failure. Well, that right there is a failure because it makes the panel worry. It's like, wow, this person has never taken the time to think about a failure that they have had. They don't know, they don't understand, they don't, right? And then it's like, okay, what is something, one of your weaknesses? Oh, I'm a perfectionist. That's a weakness that I've always had. And it's like, no, it's learning to speak differently. And in fact, now, what the new generation, they're looking for leaders that have empathy and compassion, not only to them, but to themselves. Somebody that says, hey guys, sorry, I am late. I was late this morning because I'm going through a tough time in my personal life. I'm separating right now, and I'm doing everything to stay with my wife because I really love her. but it's been tough. So hey, we have this meeting this afternoon. I'm going to need to leave early. I really apologize. And in fact, so because it's about revealing a part of you, it's like, hey, I am human. I have a heart. I have pains. Life is not perfect for me. So not only I accept you as a human, and I will have compassion with you when you have a child that is sick, when you need to leave early, when you need to miss, hey, you cannot have the meeting tomorrow and whatever. Not only I'm going to be flexible to you and compassionate and help you, but I also want to be compassionate with myself, and I want to show you that that I am empathetic and compassionate with myself. Why? Because people tend to believe that you're more likely to be compassionate with them if you're compassionate with yourself. So now we have to think about this. Okay, we have cultural changes because we are now in Minnesota. We have people that are coming from all over the world, myself, right? I'm always encouraging people to go live in another country, go work in another country, live in another country. And sometimes my students tell me, oh, but Professor, you're always telling people to go work in another countries. Why don't you work in another country? I say, what do you think I'm doing? Right? I'm not from here. So it's important to go and work in another country because that way we develop the empathy and the compassion to understand, right? It's like, why are people talking with an accent? Is that something bad? It's like, okay, a person speaks with an accent, but they speak multiple languages, right? Many years ago, I was in a meeting. This was a very high-level executives. I was younger at the time, and I was kind of like the person with a lower rank. And I am excited because I'm presenting to these, leadership, and so I'm, really proud of getting in front of these people and presenting. And then one of the leaders says to me, well, I cannot understand what you say. In the middle of this meeting with all of these leaders, and I was like, people are like the weird moment, right? It's like awkward moment. And I'm like, okay, so in milliseconds I think, well, okay, I'm gonna throw here a live line. So I was like, hey, don't worry about it. The next time that I come, I'm gonna bring an interpreter with me. Oh, and everybody laughs, and they're ready to move on forward, right? And the person says, no, it's not the language, it's your accent. And I was like, okay, then I didn't say that, but I thought in my head, now you're on your own, because I try to save you and kind of pass it and keep going, but you want to double down and make it even, that's your choice. And at the end of a meeting, so talk about how people are changing and how people are becoming more aware of these things. At the end of a meeting, the person who did it did not ask me did not apologize, which I didn't expect that they would, but other people did. Other people came and said sorry about what happened in that meeting. That was unacceptable, and had encouraging words. Hey, you're a great guy. You're doing great. That presentation was fantastic. Right? Because we are developing new skills, new human skills, right? And these human skills have to do with, like I said, self-awareness. Do I understand? Do I know who I am? Do I know what are my strengths and weaknesses? Do I understand, how does it feel when I'm angry, right? Do I understand, do I know when I'm angry, right? Because it's important, it's like in one of the things about emotional intelligence, emotional self-control, is to identify what you are feeling so that okay, at this moment, so I'm frustrated. There is a promotion, there is a new job available in my company, and I think I'm the one for it. I'm waiting, I'm expecting that it will be given to me. I feel very confident. I tell my family, hey, I'm very likely going to be promoted. I'm excited and stuff. And then you get the email, thank you, but no thank you. Somebody else got it. And then you're frustrated, right? And you're just like, wow, that was for me. What is it? Well, one of the skills that we are helping leaders to develop is this emotional self-control of identifying, okay, I know that right now I am disappointed, I am frustrated, and because of that, I am angry, I am mad. And that's the first step, right? It's like in Alcoholics Anonymous, you need to know first, understand the problem so you can work on it. Well, now I understand that I'm under the effect of an emotion. And one of the things is that people don't realize, see, when you drink, you don't drive, right? Because you know that the alcohol will impair your ability to drive well. It's the same thing. An emotion is like alcohol. It's like drugs. It's like when you are under the effect of a strong emotion, you are no longer thinking critically, right? That's why people do crazy stuff. So one of the gratifying things in this work is that I've been able to collaborate with law enforcement, right? It's like the bad news is I was contacted by the FBI. The good news is they contacted me because it's like, oh, come here, we want to train, we would love to leverage your training for the special agents. And one of the things that you see is that you have a person is on the road driving, right? I'm driving my car. and I'm having a bad day, right? It's like at work, I'm frustrated because I didn't get the promotion and all that. And then all of a sudden, somebody cuts me in, and they get in front of me unfairly. And that is like the last drop, and boom, my mind goes. And I drive after that car, and I go and I block that car, and I, get out of my trunk, and I have like a baseball bat or something, or boom, 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 bang. And then, they call the police and all that, and the person gets detained. When they review the case, great citizen, a wonderful person, a parent with kids, volunteers for the school. It's a baseball coach, that's why the baseball bat. It's just a wonderful person overall. Never had any, not even a traffic violation. He's a perfect citizen, but was able to do that. And actually, what they do is, in some cases, because we have cameras everywhere, you guys know about this, you work with legal. When you have cameras everywhere, there are instances where they will show the video to the person. It's like, look at you. And the person is like, what? That's not me, I don't recognize you. Yes, you were under the effect of an emotion. And so that's what we are training leaders today, to be more compassionate. When you have an employee that, hey, where is the project? And it's like, no, it's not ready. Well, how do I, as a leader, how can I have emotional self-control, understand, okay, with curiosity? I always teach my students, the chain to great leadership starts with curiosity. We need to understand what are the situation, ask questions, understand more, because curiosity leads to knowledge, right? When you have knowledge, knowledge leads to understanding, right? Because the more you know, the more that you can understand. And understanding leads to compassion. And compassion is the highest manifestation of emotional intelligence. Now, one of the motivations that I had to get into this type of work is that I realized that there was a misunderstanding about what empathy and compassion was, right? So I would talk to people and say, oh, what is empathy? Well, empathy is in being in somebody else's shoes. Like somebody's sad, they lost a loved one, and I'm gonna be sad with the person. Yes, that in fact is empathy, but that is not all that empathy is. Empathy is in fact way more than that. And I started to study empathy and to teach empathy. And I hope, because we only have very few minutes, I will share with you something about empathy, is that their empathy is divided into three components. The first two are about understanding. And the first one is emotional empathy. It's the ability to understand what somebody else feels, have felt in the past, is feeling right now, or will feel in the future, right? That is emotional empathy. You can understand how somebody else is feeling. That's where the whole thing about like somebody is sad because they lost a loved one, then you understand that person because you're understanding how somebody else is feeling, right? It's about understanding only. You understand that. The second kind of empathy is called cognitive empathy, which is about understanding how somebody else is thinking, is to follow the thinking pattern of somebody else, where you can say, oh, I got you. I understand why you're thinking that way, right? Now, something that is very fascinating is that people don't want to understand how somebody else thinks because they think that when you understand how somebody else thinks, you are agreeing. They confuse or they tie understanding with agreeing. But actually, understanding and agreeing are two different things. You can understand something that you disagree with. In fact, one of the highest manifestations of emotional intelligence is to develop the muscle to understand a thought that you disagree with, right? That's when you can say politically, if you are on this side of the aisle and I'm on this side of the aisle, I can say, hey, Peter, what are your inclinations? I'm voting for this, is that okay? Peter, I totally get where you're coming from. I know, you grew up in this part of town, your parents are like that, you're of this religion, you are at this age or phase in your life, and this and that. I can totally see why you would vote that way. I totally see. I'm not saying I'm going to vote for that. I vote for the opposite, for the other candidate. But I totally get where you are voting for. So in fact, when you have low cognitive empathy, which means that you really are not putting the effort to try to follow the thinking pattern of somebody else and you want to learn how somebody else thinks, that's when you say things like, suppose that there is an election and you think that option A is the best option, right? And then you're like convinced option A is the best option and all that. And then all of a sudden, the day of the election, the results come up, and option B, the option that you thought had no chance to win, actually wins. And you say, oh my gosh, that was such a surprise. That came from nowhere. Like that came out of nowhere. I can't understand. I'm in shock. And this, that language reflects somebody with a low cognitive empathy, because it means that you are not able to understand why somebody would think differently than you. A person with a high cognitive empathy says, wow, that was what I was afraid of. That option one, I can see why, because I understand the thinking pattern of the people that voted for that option, right? Now, there's something very fascinating that in emotional empathy and cognitive empathy, there is no action. The action is only of understanding, but there is no follow-up. You can understand how somebody feels or how somebody thinks, and it stops there. This does not include doing something for anybody. This is just understanding, and understanding how they feel, understanding how they think. In fact, you can use emotional empathy and cognitive empathy to do something negative to the people. For example, if I am a dictator, if I'm a bad politician, I use emotional empathy to understand how people feel. I use cognitive empathy to understand how people think, and then I use it against them. I manipulate them. I go ahead and I write a script that tells the people what they want to hear, but I have no intention of doing anything good for them, because in the first two kinds of empathy, it does not include doing anything for anybody. It only includes understanding how they feel, understanding how they think. Now, the third component of empathy, what is called empathetic concern or compassionate empathy, that's what it includes, the doing something for somebody. So in the third component of empathy, empathetic concern or compassionate empathy is when you take what you have learned from your emotional empathy to know how people are feeling, you take the cognitive empathy to understand what people are thinking, and then you use it then to do something for somebody. For example, a little girl is at home, the mom arrives, from work, and it's like, oh, Mom, I'm so happy that you came because I need you to take me to Jessica's house. It's like, wow, but honey, how? It's like, it's late. We're not going we can go tomorrow. It's like, no, Mommy, we need to go tonight. Tonight? But no, it's like, I'm busy, I got to do some stuff. Like, we'll do it tomorrow. No, we're going to do it tonight. Why? Why do we need to do it tonight? Okay, Mom. When Jessica was here, she was telling me that at night, she's very afraid. She can't sleep because she is afraid. She thinks that somebody's going to come, and she feels lonely, and she's just afraid of the dark at night. So the nights are miserable for Jessica. But she has a doll that she uses with her, and this doll gives her the illusion, the impression that she's no longer lonely, that she's with somebody. And then when she has the doll, she can fall asleep, and she has a wonderful night, sleeps all night with the doll. Okay, honey? So, well, when she came to play with me, she left the doll here. So I have the doll here. So we need to go and give her the doll, because right now she's not sleeping. So then this is a combination where this is what we're teaching great leaders, is that emotional empathy and cognitive empathy combined are great tools, but they by themselves will not help you to make the world better. You need to also have empathetic concerns, which is the compassion empathy, which is what we're talking about, how to use compassion to lead in a more compassionate way in troubling times. So in this case, if we go through this example, the little girl is identifying, okay, from an emotional standpoint, she's thinking, okay, my friend is afraid at night. That must be painful when you cannot sleep at night. I am using emotional empathy to understand what she's feeling. Then I move into cognitive empathy to go through the logical, right? What is the logic? Okay, the logic is that the doll gives her the impression that is like a person that is with her, so she no longer feels lonely, so then she can sleep. And then the third part, which is the really important, is empathetic concern, is, okay, what are you going to do about it? Now you have the understanding, the emotional understanding, and the cognitive understanding. What are you going to do about it? Well, in this case, if I have the doll, I cannot be indifferent. I cannot stay here with the doll. We need to go give the doll to Jessica, right? So I'm going to, and actually, a lot of times people tell me, well, I don't understand empathetic concern. It's like, tell me more about it. It's like, it's confusing. Okay, well, the easiest way to think about empathetic concern and compassion is the opposite of cruelty, right? So if we have a vector, right, on this side of a vector is You enjoy seeing people in pain. And at the extreme of this vector, you actually cause the pain because you enjoy seeing somebody in pain. So that's when people, are, when people torture other people, because I enjoy seeing that I'm causing this pain to you because when you have pain, I enjoy it. This is on this side of the vector, right? As we move to the other side, it's like, okay, there is somebody in pain. I didn't cause that pain, but somebody is in pain, but that's, they're in pain. I'm not going to do anything about it. Like, I don't care, right? Then kind of somewhere in the middle, it's like, okay, somebody is in pain. I didn't cause that pain, but I cannot be indifferent about this pain that this person is experiencing. So I need to do something about it, right? And then you go all the way to say, anytime that somebody that is under my care, if I'm a leader and I have people in my team, if they are going through pain, if something is difficult to happen to them, that is happening to them, regardless of even if I didn't cause it, even if I don't really even know all about it and all that, it is in my responsibility and in my fiber as an empathetic and compassionate leader to engage, to try to help. And then all the way until on this side of the vector, manifestation, the highest manifestation of compassion is when you actually work actively to prevent the possibility that someone feels pain. That's when you are thinking, you are already anticipating, okay, what will, so if I ask my team, okay, I have somebody that reports to me, I'm going to ask them to have this report for me at 7 a.m. on Monday morning. I can already predict, wow, I'm going to damage the whole weekend for this person because I'm asking for this thing on Monday morning. Well, guess what? One of the things that is fascinating is that in the past, the leaders would say, I need this report for Monday morning at 7 a.m. Oh, it's like all weekend working on that thing and they will send it on Monday and stuff. Well, the new generation that they are using digital tools, they send you the report in Google Doc. They'll send it to you in a Google Doc, and now they can see when you actually went into a report to look at it. So if you insist to the new folks, the new generation, that you want this report on Monday morning at 7 a.m., and they send it to you in a Google Doc, and they see, because they have the digital stamp of when you're looking at it, and you're looking at it on Thursday or Friday, they're thinking, what kind of leader am I working for, right? Is somebody that is creating artificial deadlines to make my life miserable without really having a real need for that. After I see that a few times, I say, I'm out of here. This is not the kind of leadership that I want to. Okay, so as we finish here, as I'm running out of time, I'm going to leave you with a few tips to be more empathetic, right? So my gift to you, we are in the end of year holiday season. Thanksgiving is coming, and the end of year season. It's a great time for gifts. So I'm going to give you a gift. I'm going to tell you 5 tips to be a more empathetic and more compassionate leader, right? Because we are going through tough times. So the first one is, it's not about you. It cannot always be about you. It can be about you sometimes. For example, if it's your wedding, if it's your graduation, if you've been promoted, yeah, it can be about you here and there a few times a year. But it cannot always be about you, right? Because every time somebody's trying to tell you something and it's like, oh no, because I went to Dallas. Dallas? Oh my God, did you know that I am from Dallas? I am from Dallas. I grew up in Dallas. In fact, about a month ago, I went to Dallas. I visited my brother. We went to this Italian restaurant, and the person is like, okay, can I tell you my story? Because we make it everything about ourselves. We have to be careful about that, right? Sometimes I get, people tell me, Luis, how do I know if I'm making it all about me? How do I know if I get the whole thing about it's not about me? And I say, okay, I have 2 tips for you. One is for like everybody, men, and then one is like more for women. But for the one for everybody is go back to your social media, Facebook or whatever you use, and look at group pictures that you have posted. So go back, time, years ago, and look at all the group pictures that you posted. If you look at a group picture, and in that group picture you look amazing, your smile is great, and you're like the right angle, and the light is coming at you, and you're looking fantastic. But then look at the other people in the picture. Do they all look great too? Because if you look amazing, but there is somebody with a mouth like this, or with a closed eyes, or with red eye, or with a piece of like lettuce in the teeth, Well, then that means that you are too much about yourself. You only cared about how you look, and you didn't care about how the rest of the people look, okay? So that's for everyone. Now, one for women is one way to know if you're making it all about you, if you haven't mastered the whole thing about it's not about you, is next time that you get invited to a wedding, when you are at the wedding, you have to find the bride. So go in the wedding, look for the bride, and when you find the bride, look attentively to the bride, up and down, from head to toe. Okay, great. Kind of keep that memory in your mind, and run to the restroom. And when you get to the restroom, stand in front of a mirror and look at yourself, and look at your own dress, and ask yourself this question. Is my dress more beautiful and more amazing and like spectacular more than that of a bride? If the answer is yes, then you haven't mastered it. It's not about you. Because it means that you went through great lengths and you did all this effort to buy a dress and, make yourself to outshine the protagonist of the wedding, which is the bride, right? Now, so tip, I'll give you another tip. It's time and context are important. Our brains are making connections all the time. And when somebody says something, our brain says something. So we have to be careful with those connections, because no connection is better than a bad connection. Let me explain you why. If you have no connection, you can develop it in the future. But if you make a bad connection, some bad connections are so bad that they are hard to recover from. For example, again, talking about women, a woman comes to you and says, oh, because I work for an airline. Oh, really? What airline? I work for Delta. Oh, wow, so you are a flight attendant? Well, I have many friends that are flight attendants, but I'm actually the head of operation for America and Europe. Oh, I'm so sorry. No, that's okay. Your brain is making connections. You made a connection that was wrong. Or you see somebody and say, oh, you're a flight attendant. No, I'm actually the captain. I'm the pilot, right? Because, women don't have to be flight attendants. And if I go to a Mexican restaurant and, as a patron, and I'm eating there, having dinner, and I need to go to a restroom, and the restroom is occupied, and I'm waiting for the restroom to open, and somebody passes by and says, oh, hi, can you get me a menu? And I say, yeah, we can go together, and we can find somebody who works here, and we can get you. Oh, you don't work here? No, that's okay. You made a mistake, because your brain is making connection that because I look a certain way, I might work here, right? So careful with going to Menards and stuff and asking people, hey, where are the screwdrivers? Like, I don't know. I don't work here, right? And obviously, when you go to Target, don't wear red and khakis, right? Now. And the other thing is, like, sometimes people will say, like, oh, because I am Native American. Oh, Native American, wow, what a coincidence. Last night I was watching a movie, Dancing with the Wolves. And the person is like, what, I'm sorry? That's a wrong connection. Okay, so third is, people think that empathy is about, when somebody's sad, you're sad with them. But actually, empathy is not about being sad when people are sad. Empathy is about engaging and feeling, trying to understand and do something about what somebody else is feeling or thinking, right? So it's not only about bad things and negative things, it's also about good things. If, Peter, where's Peter? If Peter and I, we are unemployed and we're, applying for a job, and we're studying together, and we're doing our resumes together, we're checking each other's resumes, and we apply to the same job at Target. We apply to the same company. And then I get a thank you, but no thank you, right? You're not going to the dance. And then Peter calls me and says, wow, Luis, get what? I got the job. Well, if you have a low empathy, if you have low empathetic concern, low compassion, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, I didn't get the job. So why would I get excited about somebody else? Then it's like, okay, Peter, good for you. But be careful, because there are a lot of layoffs right now going on. I have a friend of mine, he got a job offer, and then they took it away from them. Another friend of mine actually started, and he went ahead and bought a house, and then about a year later, they laid him off, all of them. And it's like, I'm doing all that because my brain is saying, if you did not have that victory, you cannot be happy about somebody else having that victory. But if we live life that way, imagine, right? So if, my mother, both my parents passed away. And so when somebody says, oh, last weekend was Mother's Day, and I was having a great, my mother and I, we went to this great restaurant. Well, okay, and how old is your mother? Well, she's like 70. Well, enjoy every day because any day you don't know what can happen. How is her health? Well, she's great. We went to the doctor and all of the, oh yeah, I know many cases when somebody's great and the next day, it's like we got to stop that, right? So, okay, the fourth one is we are great people. So when somebody comes and tells us that they're going through a tough situation, we think that one way to help them is to tell them that what they're going through is really not that bad, right? So we're always the silver lining. We're always telling, oh, no. It's like, oh, anyway, it's like, oh, my grandmother died. But how old was your mother? Well, she was like 80 years old. 80 years old? Wow, she lived a really long life. You shouldn't be sad. You should be happy. You should celebrate. In fact, I have some vodka at my house. Let's stop by. Let's have a couple shots. It's like, no, because she was something important to me. I am sad. I want to be sad. That's how I want to honor her and celebrate. So we got to stop telling people, because if you're gaslighting, you are dismissing what other people are feeling. And if you're worried about something, your kid says, oh, I have a test, Dad. I'm super worried because I have this test. Oh, please, come on. You're worried about a test. I remember when I was in school, and it's like I had tests all the time. It's like we got to stop that, right? Somebody calls you, oh, wow, John, I'm so glad that you pick up my call because I'm so stressed out. I am here on 94. I got stranded. I have one flat tire. Oh, but Jessica, think about the light side, side of things. Did you mention one flat tire? Your car has 4, so you only got 1 out of the 4. You still have 3 tires that are good. It's like, gotta stop that, right? So you gotta engage. Oh, really? I'm so sorry to hear that. What would you like to do? How can I support you? And the final one is to be intentional. Words are beautiful. You can tell words, you can make people feel good with words. But ultimately, what changes the world is to have the agency to take the initiative and to take action to support someone that is going through something. Remember, emotional empathy helps us with understanding how people are feeling, how they felt in the past, how they're feeling now, how they can feel in the future. Cognitive empathy helps us to understand how somebody is thinking. And then compassion, empathetic concern, is what gives us the fuel, the energy, and the integrity, the moral compass to know that it is the right thing to engage to do something about it. Remember this, you can be emotional or you can be intelligent, but the real power and the real opportunity is to be emotionally intelligent. Thank you very much for having me today. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Peter. For the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that terrific presentation. Now, Michaela's going to come up and give some final remarks. Have a great Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you all for coming today. I want to extend a thank you to Candace and Ashley and the rest of our development team for hosting this event and putting together such a great event. If you can all join me in a round of applause for them. And to our speaker, Luis, thank you for reminding us to face every day all of our clients' challenges with compassion and empathy as we move forward in some challenging times for our client community. Thank you all for being here, for supporting SMRLS, and I wish you all very safe travels and a very happy holiday season. Thank you very much.